Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all my blessed beloveds out there in living and thriving land. It's living and thriving time, and I'm Rusty. I am having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so I don't know if you can see me, but we had a torrential rainstorm here, so I think the internet is really sluggish right now. Even Chloe had a hard time getting onto her classes today. We needed the rain desperately, though. Here in the Gulf side of Florida, Jurassic Park, as I lovingly call it, it's been really humid. So that storm came rushing in and brought out the humidity and gave us about 4 hours of a reprieve, but now the humidity is coming back. So we'll see what happens. I am super excited. I am on my 1200th, is that how you say it? Guest. And it's just been an incredible ride. I can't even tell you, I've literally been all over the world, twice back virtually, and it has been an honor to meet so many beautiful souls that enrich their communities, that enrich the world with their gifts, their treasures, their poetry, their creations, and their spirit to continue moving forward even during a pandemic or any other kind of life storm that happens, because we all go through adventures. Not always fun adventures, but they're experiences, and that's what we're here for. Today I have Marilyn on. I can see her, but I don't know if she can see me. Yep.
I would like to.
I know, right? I would too, but I'm not really quite sure what's going on. I just think it's the internet at this point. So who are you? What do you do? And what makes you do what you do?
Well, I'm Marilyn Redmond, and what do? I have a lot of hats. I'm a counselor. I'm an ordained minister for spiritual healing and past life regressions. I have become internationally board certified to do past life regressions, and I'm on the American Board of Hypnotherapy. So I know today that when we heal at the soul level, at the subconscious level, that's when the real healing happens. And so because my experience has brought me through many difficult situations, medically and emotionally, spiritually, physically, you name it, I've pretty much been there. I have found the answers to get to the other side and actually resolve the situations in a loving resolution. And from that, I started writing my experiences and answers and tools I found. And so I ended up becoming an author by writing. I woke up from my meditations writing poetry, and my writing teacher said those should go in a book, and she happened to be a publisher. So I ended up becoming a writer. These things have fallen in my lap. It's just kind of evolved. So my writing then came into being more than just poetry, because I'm also a medium, and in channeling information about 2012, I was told by Saint Germain to put it into a book. So that's my book, The Real Meaning of 2012, Bringing Heaven to Earth. And so from there, I was told by Archangel Michael that I would be writing a book to be transferring the information from the 12-step programs into the mainstream. And so I have a book, 500 pages of the details of how to move your life from the past fears, guilt, shame, negative energies of whatever's happened to you, and how to transform it into grace. And so I have the step-by-step process people can use. And then my other books then takes it even steps further, Finding Reality Beyond Fear and Road to Success. So, you know, I'm on YouTube with a lot of videos helping people to find a better path that works from what we used to do or we're told. And so I do, you know, counseling. I give readings because I do connect with the other side and people that have passed over, but also with higher archangels, as I mentioned, Archangel Michael and Archangel, several of them actually. And so, you know, it's because I took a trip to Australia and ended up at the Great Barrier Reef, and I was so impressed with the water life that I started painting it, and that led to me becoming an artist of angels, because I'm almost died 12 times and angels have kept me alive. So I started from that painting of what was under the water that was so terrific. I started painting angel portraits So I illustrate my own books, and I could go on, but those are the major issues that I help people with holistic health and addictions and other mental health and maladies that are in their life, because we can get past them if we truly want to do the tools it takes to do that.
I remember mentioning that you have me beat because I've had near death 3 times, but you've got 12, so you've even outpassed any cat I know.
Well, I'll tell you, God has mysterious ways to come into my life. And one of the real, I've had several really traumatic ones, but because I've been off the cliff at the Grand Canyon. That was the first time I knew I had angels. And they had us land about 40 feet down on a ledge. Can you believe, of all the places on the Grand Canyon you could fall off of, there was a ledge that protruded out from the side of the canyon. And it was slippery, icy weather in January, 1st of January, from Christmas time, coming home from a Christmas vacation. And I won't give you all the bloody details, but basically as we hit the ice and we were right on the edge of the cliff, we slid right off the cliff, and the angel's hands immediately grabbed the car and turned us upside down and landed us very gently in the snow below us. And as we were quickly trying to scramble out of the car, because, you know, in the movies, it always shows a car blowing up.
Right.
And so we were trying to get out of there quick, and we actually had no problems getting out. And I was going for help, and in the meantime, the ranger showed up to bring help. And he said, "You've been seeing too many movies." But that's when I first recognized how valuable angels are in our lives. And so it was amazing that we could each get the car repaired and actually drive it home. And then another time, my husband tried to kill me several times. We were in a domestic violent marriage, and alcoholics I didn't understand how all that came together, but through circumstances later, I have come past that. But he tried to kill me several times. And one time, it was in our house. I'd gone to a meeting, and he didn't want me to leave because we had business problems to resolve. And I figured, well, when I got home, we'd talk about him. And he was a psychopath, alcoholic, rageaholic, sex addict. And he was in a tirade, and he was going to teach me that I couldn't leave if he didn't want me to leave. And so coming home was disaster time. The time I went against his wishes prior to that, he broke my tailbone. So this time coming home was a real threat. I didn't know really what to do, and didn't have anywhere else to go. So I opened the door and didn't know what was going to happen. He got me cornered in a real small bedroom. I figured, man, that's it. I was going to be another Nicole Simpson. And time stood still. It was a very strange feeling. And the voice inside started speaking to me. I'll give you the short version, because it took about a half an hour for all of this to come together. But angels held him, so he couldn't come closer. And the voice told me to start, well, what was the message is Sunday at church for Easter, and it wasn't Easter. That was the strange part. What I finally got through checking all these different messages out was that I was to say, "God forgive him, for he knows not what he does. God bless him." And time still stood still. He was there held. He couldn't come closer. I'm just, you know, what do I do now? So I prayed it again. And the voice said, "Now you can leave." Well, I says, "You got to be kidding. I got to walk right by him to get out the door." And so the angels escorted me out safely. And I turned around quickly in the hall to see what was going to happen. And he had the strangest look on his face you've ever seen. Went to the other end of the house and watched television the rest of the night, and he never touched me again. I started praying for him like a Dutch uncle. And what I found out is if you send prayers to people, they can't attack you. You can't attack love. And that's the answer to domestic violence, I found out. So it's with the tools necessary to be able to move out of that victim place. Now that's another challenge in its own. And that's what Paradigm Buster's book is really about, is how to get your empowerment back, get out of being a victim, quit playing that part, grow up, get your courage and confidence through a higher power and move forward in your life and leave that all behind and live in the current now. Because right now is reality. And I didn't get raised in love. My parents were mentally ill and alcoholics. And I've had to learn to love myself and respect myself so people will respect me. And I've had to learn a whole new way of life. And that's what my writing's about. And it's my speaking, my teaching is helping people to move out of fear and into reality. And that's called maturity. I don't have to react like a 3-year-old little scared little girl anymore from my childhood trauma. And so it's a growing up process. And I love sharing about it. I know today that we don't have to be in survival. I'm thriving today. You know, even in the virus, my life is not perfect, believe me, for various reasons I won't get into. But, you know, basically, I'm a happy camper. You know, I know that things are going to work out for the better, and, you know, all things work for good in those that love God and are on his path. And I'm just in there for the duration.
So Marilyn, talk to me about a little bit about why you do what you do. It's really a beautiful, I disappeared again. God loves to intervene. Anyway, it's a beautiful story to persevere, especially at the time frame in which women, we don't have a lot of rights now in 2020, but I can imagine this was in the 80s, 70s that you were going through this. And that's even less. And women had less choice for work, less choice for voice, less choice for, you know, housing opportunities. So how did you find the strength to kind of saddle up, belly up, and get good with it?
Well, I've never really totally been this open about it, but I will. Because my life was so frantic, I've lost your picture. Because my life was so frantic, I didn't have any courage. And I found, because alcoholism runs in my family genetically, and I found that when you have a drink of alcohol, all of a sudden you have courage. And so I used that in college, and I went through college as an emotional 3-year-old, if you can imagine, in high school and all the rest. And married what I was used to. And when he tried to kill me in a car ride home from a vacation, for the first time in my life, I prayed from my heart. Instead of using a Bible with the prayer written in it, I asked God, please help me. I really don't want to die. And that connected me with a spiritual consciousness I was never aware of. I was taught in church God was out there, out beyond, you know, and he'll save you. What I've come to understand, and this is what I help people to find in my Paradigm Busters book, is that God is in your heart, is within. Always has been there. And I didn't have to believe the stories people told me that I wasn't good enough, or that I wasn't worthy, or I didn't belong, or, you know, all those things that were negative, I picked up like a sponge. And my mother being paranoid schizophrenic, I never heard any loving comments. She was never really there for me, emotionally especially. She was in other ways. So I looked socially acceptable, but as far, I was dying on the inside. So when I asked God for please help me, all of a sudden opportunities that I never even knew about started appearing in my life, and one was treatment. So I ended up with treatment, didn't understand it was alcoholism as a disease, but they gave me a lot of tools, and one of them was a daily spiritual path that I could substitute for prescriptions and alcohol. And so as I'm walking this daily path of spirituality, gradually I'm growing into being a more, I'm responding in love instead of staying in my fear. And I'm letting go of the past instead of living and letting it run my now life. I don't have to let the past recreate itself. So it's a gradual process. It's not going to happen overnight. It hasn't for me anyway. I'm not one of those that all of a sudden had the miracle and I'm I'm well and perfect. I wish. But, you know, I've learned so much of how to get to the other side and stay moving forward with forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and unconditional love. That those were the lessons I needed for me to change from being that fear-based person into a love-based person.
I find it really remarkable. I don't know if you can see me. I'm kind of
now you're back.
I'm still working on it, darn it. I find it remarkable that you stayed with him even though he tried multiple times to kill you. And that must have been very, um, I had a domestic violence marriage as well. So I remember when you hear the truck pulling into the driveway, everybody changed, their bodies changed. Everybody got tense. We didn't know what was walking in the door. Even our dog, who was a boxer, he had a nub tail because he was AKC. He would still try to hide his tail behind him because of the tension, the anxiety of whatever was going to come in. And I couldn't imagine if he tried to run us off the road or any of the stuff that your husband put you through. I don't even know if I could sleep. How did you do it?
Well, I did it because when I found out, I didn't really want to stay in that marriage, but I was emotionally 3 years old. I had to grow up enough to be able, I tried 3 times to divorce him. And at that point, when we ended up in treatment, I stopped drinking and using any prescriptions. And I have now, you know, I'm 35 years without a drink and 19 years without a prescription, because they literally stop you from growing, from feelings and emotional growth. So when I'm still in the domestic violent marriage for 5 years, sober, having to deal with what you're just talking about.
Yeah.
What I found out is that being sober, I realized what I was doing that brought it back to me. I did have not a clue until I told you about the bedroom situation, that what you send out comes back. That's a universal law. And so I was trying to defend myself on a subconscious basis, and he acted out on a physical basis trying to defend himself. So it's like a poker game. And I'm trying to defend myself from my past problems. I don't want to be hurt again. So I had my walls and I had all my craziness, and I'm sending that to him, and he's retaliating. It's like a poker game. If I send out my defenses, he sends out, he's trying to protect himself, and it just raises up like a poker ante. And I had to quit. That's when I prayed for him to God, forgive him, for he knows not what he does. That stopped the retaliation. Then I found out, I got really angry one day at God. I found out you could. And I said, I don't want to be in another battering and abusive relationship of rape. And so God, the voice came in and told me, and was a real turning point in my life, said that I had to become the qualities I wanted in a partner, so that I would become the magnet, and then I would attract healthier people to me. So I ended up in Al-Anon, and I learned healthy behaviors of how to detach with love, and how to handle life on life's terms, and how to live and let live, and all those things I didn't know how to do because I was codependent like a barnacle. And, you know, because when you're 3 years old, you know, what else are you going to do? You hang on to somebody you think knows better than you do. And the trouble was, he didn't know any better than I did. He was probably 3 or 4 years old emotionally himself. The psychiatrist said he doubted that he would ever be able to face the fears of his childhood abuse, which is what turned out. I was able to come through by the grace of God. I'm thriving today, not dying on the inside. I literally was dying. The doctor of treatment said I was in the last stages of alcoholism, and to pick up is to die. And my body told me I was dying. And today, I still have a little bit of arthritis, but I'm healthier today than I've ever been. And it's not because I'm, it's because I've changed my lifestyle. You know, I don't live in fear today. I'm not a fear-based person. I'm a love-based person. And when you're in service, you're helping others. You get out of your selfishness and survival into extending love to others. And God is energy and extension, and that makes you feel good. So I feel terrific today. I'm usually helping somebody somewhere, somehow. I do a lot of answering on Quora, and I do a lot of writing. I have a couple monthly columns, and I write books, and I'm writing right now one on how my angels have helped me stay alive. Thank goodness for, I know it's all energy today, but I want to explain a lot of that in this book. And, you know, so life can be really good, but I have to make the choice. We have choice in life. And I can choose to stay a victim, or I can choose to grow up and find the truth about who I am in the universe, what I'm about, what makes life tick, and who Marilyn is, and be myself today. And oh, what a blessing that is.
Well, what I love about this story is that you did persevere, even though you still had your 3-year-old energy, your 3-year-old understanding, you still persevered and you found ways, you had guidance, which I believe very strongly in. And you know, you were able to reinvent yourself from a very sad place. And I think that we're given those stories so that we have comprehension and compassion, and not just compassion for other people, but compassion for ourselves. And that's a huge thing that's difficult for most people to have is, you know, you can be in service of other people, but sometimes when you're in service to other people, you're ignoring yourself. And that's a fine line, isn't it?
Well, one of the things I really have come to understand more recently is I wrote the script for my coming in, because those were the lessons I needed to learn in this particular life so I could get past those old situations. I do past life regression, so that's part of the mix. And I had to change that energy. And I was, well, if you read the prologue to Paradigm Busters, I came down to help people, and I was told you have to go through those experiences or they won't listen to you. You'll be, they won't connect with you, so they can see you came through it. And so it's not that I loved doing this, believe me. It was pretty very scary. But I came through, and I know if I can come through, anybody can. It takes that perseverance you talked about to keep moving, put what I call putting the carrot in front of the cart and keep moving. And that's exactly what it was like when I got off withdrawal from Depakote. I mean, it was 3 months of putting the carrot in front of me, or you know, it was not an easy withdrawal. Valium was not easy either, but that one was bad. And so you just have to keep trusting and having faith and being in that, you know, praying mode, contacting, well, one of the best pieces of advice was, what's the next indicated right thing I need to do that's right in front of me? Instead, see, I was always covering the bases for everybody, so I'd be okay. I just need to take care of Marilyn. And if I do that, the rest falls in place. Isn't that amazing?
It's a hard thing, especially for women, to be so forthright about wanting to take care of ourselves and having self-love and appreciating who we are as an individual on this planet. We're told in so many various places throughout our life that we're supposed to serve everybody and anybody, and you're last. And there's a movement forward, I think, where over the last 20, 30 years, it's really not withstood that ideology anymore. Women are really starting to get really good with themselves. They're becoming much more authentic. They're really appreciating the value of makeup or no makeup and those kinds of choices, whereas there was a time period where that wasn't a choice. You had to look the part in order to be married, in order to have housing. And as mean as that sounds, it's reality for us. So to come from a domestic violence situation, through it, to be able to author a few books and to be of service and still find authenticity within yourself and love for yourself, that's miraculous in itself, don't you think?
Well, sometimes I've been told I'm a walking miracle. I know today the love is within our hearts, and it's a matter of just like peeling the onion. You get rid of everything that covers up the love inside. And so when you finally peel the onion, you start to see that you're not that bad a person, that you have capabilities. You know, going through school, I couldn't, I was valedictorian. You know, people say, well, if you're mentally ill, you know, how can you do these things? Well, intelligence and emotional growth are not the same. So what I found out is that, you know, we have to go through these things, and gradually we grow into being a mature person. And so it's a matter of releasing what doesn't work in the past, so that's not part of your life anymore, and it frees you to be yourself, to be the talent. See, I couldn't pass English with an A. I always beat myself up about that. And I ended up being a writer. Who would have ever guessed, you know? I wanted to do art when I was a kid, and my mom says we can't afford the supplies, and so I didn't do art. Well, guess what? I'm an artist today. you know, we can do what's right for us today. And that's the real part that is wonderful, in my opinion, is fortunately, I was given music lessons growing up, and that's like meditation, I discovered. That keeps you connected on a higher level. So there was that part of me had sanity to balance out all the insanity. And so gradually we find abilities and talents that as we move into being who we are, to help others. And, you know, in my case, counseling, speaking, teaching, writing, these are talents that I couldn't do in the past, but now in my new mode of life, they just, it's like falling off a log, you might say. It's just naturally comes, and it's, I love it. Life is so much, do you know how hard it is to stay sick?
It takes a lot of work. And what's beautiful about going through the journey is I find the more and more people that I interview, including my own interpersonal interview, I find that we go full circle. So even though in the beginning our expectation was here, whatever that is, you know, I did not have a very loving childhood either, so I can relate to that. You know, I was always locked outside. That was the extent, you know, of the affection, unless I was in trouble, and then I was beaten. So,
Yeah.
so there wasn't that emotionality, and I can appreciate the emotional aging or lack thereof. I can relate to that, and I think most of my viewers can relate to that. So as you go through the journey, you get to a smarter, maturer place, and you turn around and you get to do what it is that your soul always wanted you to do. You were just not at the right time. And I love that. I find that is pretty much everybody's go-to, is they just end up full circle, but they end up with new and fresh eyes to do it the way they want to do it. More control.
I think you're completely right.
So Marilyn, where can we find more information about you? This is a great place for you to give us your information. And, you know, this does go very viral, as you know, so be careful all the information you give, but.
Well, I'm not a secret today, and if I can help people, I'm glad to do it. I have a website, angelicasgifts.com. Angelica is my major angel, and so I decided that would be a good cover for all the different hats I wear. So angelicasgifts.com. If you forget my website, you can Google me at Marilyn Redmond. I have a lot of Google entries on the listings. I have a blog, Marilyn Redmond's books.blogspot.com. I also have 172 YouTubes, and it's about interviewing for my different books and my healing alcoholism, codependency, spiritual path, whatever, various things. And I have some channeling up there because I'm a medium. And so if you're interested in that kind of thing, in fact, I actually had a prophecy about what's going on right now with the government. And that was 35 years ago. So I knew that this was coming at some point. And I also, if you want to call me, 253-845-4907. Or you can email me at Marilyn, MARILYN, at angelicasgifts.com. And, you know, I do counseling, readings, helping people get through their difficulties. There are tools and there are ways to move beyond. I loved doing a past life regression for one gal, was very codependent. She says, I don't want to keep repeating getting these same guys all the time. She didn't really want to keep going on that path. And in the middle of the process, she just, all of a sudden, she says, is that what I'm doing? I don't have to do that anymore. So it can be as simple as just becoming aware of what not to repeat, you know, that brought on the problem in the first place. So all these things can help us. I have a lot of articles out there. I write 2 monthly columns, one for the Sussex newspaper and another one for a 12-step AA program. I have a newspaper I write for. It's Area 72. And, you know, there's a lot of ways for me to, for people to connect with me, but Google's probably the easiest, quickest way, but my website's wonderful too.
Marilyn, you've been a real treat, and I hope that you continue to speak your voice and show your courage and your strength
Thank
and
you.
share your books, because I feel that a lot of women and young women out there can definitely go, okay, whew, I'm not alone. I've had, whew, because you know that feeling as well as I do, and as well as many of my viewers out there know that you feel very alone and very ashamed and very filled with guilt. And those are normal feelings, but I testify, and Marilyn testifies, you can do this. You are stronger, way stronger
Everybody can.
than you think. And if I can do it, and I'm a big cuddly sissy baby, I am. I'm like, I cry at Hallmark commercials. Forget the movie. I can't even get to the movie. Big mush. You can do it. And Marilyn's testimony, she definitely did it. And I give her props for all the times that she had to walk in those moments, not knowing how she was going to get through.
There have been a few. Well,
Marilyn,
this is wonderful.
thank you so much for coming on. I apologize with the technical difficulties. Weather is what it is, and technology is being stretched all across the world. So it's a new world, as you knew 35 years ago. And I'm grateful to finally have you on the show and to see your face and to virtually hug you and high five.
And please send me the links for the show. I'd like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Marilyn's links will be located down below, or maybe to the side or somewhere, but she will be airing pretty soon, actually, in the next couple of weeks. So the takeaways are, you're stronger than you think, and no addiction is stronger than you. There is help, there are resources, and prayer is a good step to at least center yourself before you pick up. That's the best thing. Second part of addiction that we've heard over this series, if you feel like you need it, do 15 squats. Girl, you know I'm not doing 15 squats, so I'm not drinking anything but water. Change your patterns, change your patterns. 21 days to change a good habit or a bad habit, or make a good habit or make a bad habit. You have these choices and you're in full control. You don't feel it sometimes, and sometimes it gets really scary, and sometimes it gets really sad. Grab a box of tissues and call me. I'll cry with you. I'll cry with you.
Exactly.
What are you doing to be of service? Marilyn has demonstrated above and beyond how you can be in service through your story and through your own healing. And I believe strongly that when you're in service, you are providing something good for other people, as well as healing your wounds. There's nothing like being with other people, helping them. And this is a great time to learn to be of service. Gratitude and blessings. I can't stress that enough. Every morning, every night, you give your gratitude and blessings. Thank you, I got another day. Thank you, another day without drinking. Thank you, another day not getting hit. You know, it could be that simple. It could be even larger. Like for myself, I absolutely love watching the sun rays change the environment to the point where you can see the shadows disappear and take shape as trees and buildings. And well, where I live, it's Jurassic Park, so lizards and turtles and the cacophony of birds. Write a mission statement, find your passion, and you know, there's always some way to be creative, and that is very meditative and very healing within itself. Know that I love you. Know that you're beautiful. Be kind to yourself. Go do something fun. Sing in the rain, dance in the shower. Don't slip. Dance around naked, I don't care. Get your soul up high so that it's singing and vibrating in such joy that even people in China will rock out with you. Until next time.